appears poised to put an end to affirmative action.
Everyone is talking about this case all the time.
This case is going to be something more than just about admissions.
We belong here, and affirmative action is a right that we have.
I think it's very frustrating that Asian Americans are a face of this, that they are a wedge on this issue.
There has to be something against Asian Americans specifically.
I think it's cultural discrimination.
Affirmative action is under attack!
If you get rid of affirmative action, you're actually taking away racial justice.
Harvard is made great by its students, and its students are made great by diversity.
You cannot remedy discrimination and preferences with new discrimination.
When these schools are deciding who gets in, they're deciding who will have access to money, who will have access to resources, who will have access to political power.
This is the most important civil rights case of our era.
Boom, there you go. That was a trailer for Admissions Granted, premiering on June 30th from MSNBC Films. I'm Kuya. This is Nerds Rule the World. And joining me are a pair of special guests, the filmmakers behind Admissions Granted. I have Miao Wang and Hao Wu. Thank you both so much for your time. It's the day right before the premiere, so I really appreciate your time to just give me a little bit more detail and give my audience a little bit more detail on just why this film is so important and why you had to make it. I also want to point out that what's also very special about the film premiering this weekend, it's the first anniversary of the Supreme Court's ruling on this case that this film focuses on. So what a tremendous time. And again, I'm so honored to speak with you both. To start us off, I'm Asian American. I'm Filipino American. So this whole film and just everything that transpired out of this just left me so complicated. And I think a lot of us fellow Asian Americans are going to feel somewhat complicated in this whole situation. I grew up in a conservative household. I'm now very liberal in kind of my leanings, but I'm an empath to everything. So that's why it's just so complicated, I guess, for me. I want to know why you all both chose to do this documentary. I believe as Asian Americans yourselves, you know, I think we all kind of felt the same when this whole event happened. And so I'm curious, the engine that started, how the two of you both linked up to get the ball rolling, and just thank you again for this documentary, because I hope it creates conversation. And that's why I wanted to speak with you both, because it's so important so we can change the future and learn from this. If I can start with you, Miao.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for having us on this show. So Hao and I started this project also because we were reading, of course, a lot about this case, and we were both also fascinated as Asian Americans. We hear about, I think, the discussion on both sides, right? Like, you know, we hear about the discussion from the sides that are a little bit feeling discomfort and feeling like what is going on, especially during the district court case. The personality rating and all those things that came out of the case made a lot of Asian Americans a little uncomfortable. So there was that aspect, and then there was the affirmative action aspect that tied into the district court. But when we started reading, we were a little confused ourselves. You know, how does the discrimination against Asian Americans, the alleged discrimination, what does that have to do with affirmative action? And the lawsuit was really supposed to be about the discrimination, but then, you know, how did that get tied together? So, and, you know, we just decided this is something we wanted to learn more about, dig into, and the intent from the very beginning is that we wanted to create conversation, and we were a little frustrated with the way the discussions were happening. You know, it was kind of one side or the other side, and people weren't really listening to each other. So we wanted to create a film where people actually sit and listen.
Yes, and we're so thankful. How about you, Hao? When Miao reached out, can you tell me when you first learned?
The conversation completely started together. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So was that the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at a party, actually. Miao and I, we're at the film party, and we started talking about this ruling from the district court that happened in October 2019. We were at the party in December that year. We started talking and said we both were fascinated by this lawsuit, and why don't we start researching together? Because a lot of time making documentary is a very lonely effort. So to be able to team up and encourage each other, motivate each other to go on when when things get tough, especially very quickly after we started researching, we hit the COVID pandemic hit. We had to change direction a couple of times. So it was great to have Miao on board to be able to work together as a team to power through.
Yeah. Wow. Sidebar, I'm a filmmaker myself, and I live in the Washington, D.C. area. So a lot of my film friends are documentarians, as it were, to be in this area. I got to commend you both on just the work it takes to create documentaries. I just think it's a lot more hard, a lot more difficult, excuse me, than just superheroes and stuff like that. So props to you both. So you both were like, okay, let's shine a light on this. And let's put together a spectacular documentary. Both of you guys, I've seen some of your previous work, amazing. And so to have you two collab is like a superhero team in itself. I just had to throw superhero there, and again, you both are rocking it. So you come together and you give us this great doc that we're watching. What I really loved about this documentary is you really illustrated both sides, and that's why I'm still kind of complicated. I'm like, what is going on? It's hard to choose. Can you tell me once you got together? Okay, we're gonna do this. Lining up all the people you got, because you got Edward Bloom, you got so many of the powerful people that were speaking in regards to this matter. What was that like, booking everybody, getting everybody to speak freely, and to show that this was just going to be everybody presenting their own case, and because certain documentaries can be slightly biased. If I can go back if I can go to you now, Hal, to give you a little bit of time.
Yeah, I think our initial. As soon as we decided to work together on this, we reached out to Edward Bloom. Edward Bloom has always been media friendly. He welcomed any kind of reporter reaching out to him because he wanted to win in the court of public opinion as well. So once we have Edward Bloom's access, we started building out like how we can have more people, more activists, more experts from both sides, both the liberal side as well as the conservative side, to round up the what in documentary also called casting, because very early on, like we mentioned earlier, Miao and I, we decided we want to have this film to be a conversation starter. So we really wanted to present and humanize both sides, to be able to, because for us, it took us a long time of research, of reading, to fully comprehend the complexity of all the issues associated with affirmative action. So that's what we wanted to do, to be able to have a film that reflect the complex conversation Miao and I are having, the type of debates we're having. So that's our initial goal.
How about you, Miao?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in terms of a lot of the people on the Harvard side, we were reading, because of COVID also, we were reading, just doing a lot of reading. And we basically started reading through a lot of the court transcripts from the district court. And there were a lot of articles, some really great articles written that featured some people like Sally Chen. So we reached out to Sally and some of the students that were involved that testified in trial fairly early on. I think I might have started actually with Sally, and she really introduced us to a lot of other people as well. And it just kind of rolled from there on the pro affirmative action side, right? And looking at trying to find those students and alums, and then some of the experts came out of also just more reading and research and reaching out. So yeah, that's how we got access to a lot of those people. But as a house said, also like a lot of this is like just really our own conversations, and I think the more we read, the more we dug into this topic, like affirmative action, the Asian American involvement, affirmative action, it just branched out into so many other things too. It's like really touches on everything that kind of impacts American society in some ways. So the challenge of the film was to figure out how we're going to distill it down.
Yeah.
We did 90 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you did it. You did it, but I'm just still so conflicted, which I think is also, I think you need to be conflicted because there's so many nuances to this issue. Was there anything surprising for you both? Because you had like your own preconceived things personally, but then you wanted to kind of put like a universal project together where people can make their own minds up. But was there anything personally that you can speak outside of now that this project is out there and it gives that openness, but for you personally that surprised you while you're going along this journey, interacting and having these conversations? So go to Miao.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think there's a lot in some ways because both of us, I think a lot of people actually don't really necessarily know what affirmative action really is. We have this understanding, or so we think we have some understanding of affirmative action, but when it comes down to it, everyone almost has a different idea of what it is, right? So it is the consideration of race, but where did it start? How did it begin? A lot of that neither of us necessarily knew in that much detail, the historical context of everything, right? And then, the further we dug in, just I think it's really just all the complexities behind it. There's the holistic admission, that origin. We didn't know, I think a lot of people didn't know about that until the district court case and the whole ALDC aspect. I mean, the one thing about this case is it did reveal a lot of things that we didn't know before, the public didn't know before. So those were also things we learned. And then you have to process that and understand how that affects your thinking. So yeah, a lot.
Thank you, Miao. How about you, Hal?
One thing that I found particularly surprising was that this particular SFFA versus Harvard and UNC case, there were actually decades in the making because even before Edward Bloom started challenging race-conscious policies in the United States with Fisher 1 and Fisher 2, and also Shelby County cases, all these cases he brought to the Supreme Court. Even before him, they were like starting in 1978. That's the Bakke case, 2003, the Guadder case. So I think on the conservative side that had been trying to challenge affirmative action at the Supreme Court, they've been doing a lot of work step by step, trying to, by bringing cases repeatedly to the Supreme Court, they are making it harder and harder for colleges to practice affirmative action until finally the Supreme Court right now is 6-3, super conservative majority. They were able to overturn past precedents and risk considerations in colleges. So that was a really interesting learning for me personally.
Yeah, actually, just to quickly add to that, it's that for sure, that aspect of realizing, not from someone who's not a legal expert, right, how much it takes to actually, for any of the Supreme Court, landmark Supreme Court cases, it's not really just that one case that made that decision. It's really decades of other small cases that don't get as much attention that chip away at a lot of the legal precedents or language that gets to where we are today. So that was really, really eye-opening.
Thank you. And with that being said, I have to say, obviously we all know the results and it climaxes to this result, but that again, it just reminded me how scared I am, to be honest. I'm curious, because of this film and also just all the different types of work you've done, go and from here past admissions granted to your next projects, has this prompted any possible future docs that you also want to talk about in regards to, maybe not this material because you already covered it, but in regards to the next piece of the material, especially, I don't know, I'm scared again, like I said, because of the results. I'm like, where are we going to next? What's going to happen next because of all of this? As an Asian American, as a person of color, that's where I'm at with it. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on,
I think, first of all, don't be scared. I think this is a great opportunity for us to really reflect on, the diversity within the Asian American community, as well as have more conversations, with our elders, with our younger kids, and to think about like Sally and Jeannie said in the films, that this is the opportunity for us to figure out how we can do better going forward. I think things are complicated as in real life. I think as documentary filmmakers, at least for Miao and myself, we're not those type of advocacy film makers. You know, we want our film to spark a conversation. We want our film to have both sides to be able to potentially sit down and talk to each other, because that's how we view we can evolve as a society. And I think this is great, actually. You know, for you, maybe hopefully after watching this film, you're motivated to reach out to your own family to have conversations about it.
Oh, most definitely. Yes.
Yeah, we actually just in the last 2 nights had 2 screenings in New York, in-person screenings, followed by panel discussions, and it's been really fascinating. Like, you know, people disagreed, even in the audience, people were disagreeing, but then they were talking to each other, and sometimes they agreed on certain things, and then sometimes they agreed to disagree. But that is also, I think that's part of one of the more optimistic things we think about coming out of the project is if we can at least talk to each other. That's what a democratic society is, right? You have to be able to, nobody's going to agree on everything. Everyone has different ideas. And so you have to like be able to sit around together to talk about it rather than just hating each other. So
completely agree. Yeah, I was minding myself for answers, but again, just having such a confliction because I am an Asian American, but I also believe in affirmative action. It's just everything is crazy with this.
But there's also a lot of other things people are trying to, you know, other solutions that they're trying to find, alternative ways to get to, you know, a diverse society. So
definitely. One of the figureheads that you covered, the most notorious person in this film, and we mentioned him quite a bit, and he was one of the first, as you said earlier, Hal, that was willing to step up and talk. Edward Bloom. I think this will put a face to the name to, well, I don't know who he was for me. I didn't do that research way back when, but just, you know, being aware of the issue. But now I kind of have a face to this person. I'm sure once this drops to tomorrow, June 30th, as of this recording on MSNBC at 9 p.m., people will now know him, and, you know, that'll create some notoriety. What was it like working with him because of just you know, his views and just all of that in regards to this case? How is that relationship, and what do you think with what will come of this when people now have kind of like myself have a face to and a name to what happened with this case? How?
Yeah, so I think we spent a lot of time over the years since end of 2020 with Edward Bloom. I think in our interaction with him, he said in the film himself, he said, "I'm a one-trick pony." So his lifelong goal was to restore colorblind principles in American society. So that's all he's been working on and all he's been talking about publicly. In private, we just found him to be almost like an older gentleman that's kind of soft-spoken, and not difficult to talk to. And he was pretty, we really appreciated that him opening up his doors and letting us in and having us in his house for so many times. So yeah, we're really appreciative that he's been willing to be so open on our camera and to share his views.
Yeah, if you can add to working on it.
I mean, I think he was very, you know, I think we do think he's in some ways like an old school Republican, right? So he's not like the social media shouting type of person at all. And we feel like we made the film so people just can see what is behind his thinking, what is behind his strategy. And I mean, honestly, for myself, having learned like how, I find the strategy behind it is actually quite fascinating. And it is a lot of times what, you know, on the other side, people also use, right? And it's the long-term strategy that it takes to really achieve you know, something at the Supreme Court level. So it's something we can also learn from. So, you know, it depends on what you want to do, right? And if you want to achieve something at the Supreme Court to really like create long-lasting change in that way, either side.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can all learn. We all learn from each other, and what we all need to do with this case and just everything behind it. When you finally, closed it out and finished the film, did you have like a screening with the subjects, and what were Bloom thoughts? What were just some of the Harvard people's thoughts? Just I'm curious, or is everybody seeing it like everyone else on June 30th on MSNBC?
Yeah, everyone's seen it by now. I think everyone feels slightly like the other side got a little more say.
Oh, really?
Which is probably
you wrote that line. You wrote the line.
Maybe not a bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think every side is feeling the other side has had more screen time. So I guess in some ways that's comforting to us as filmmakers. We know we're doing a good job in terms of presenting a film that's nuanced, because both sides, neither side is super happy with this film.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, I think you did a great job, and I like that you kind of straddled that line. I don't think it went either way, and that's what I like out of a good documentary. Allow me to take what was presented and formulate my own opinion and thoughts, and I just think you did a great job of getting that for me as a fan and as a viewer. Well done. Again, everybody, admissions granted premieres on June 30th on NBC at 9 p.m. How Woo?
MSNBC, sorry.
Oh, MSNBC. Thank you. Miao Wang, thank you both so much for your time. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do next. I've loved your past work. You have another great one in this. And again, thank you as an Asian American as well. I got to give you those props because, yeah, this was in our zeitgeist, right? And now you've kind of given us more information. It's still so very complicated, but I hope it sparks the conversations that I think we all want and all desire. So thank you both so much for your time. I appreciate you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kuya. Yeah.
Recording. I'm going to count us in because I'm going to put the trailer right in front of the interview. All right. So I'm going to do 3, 2, 1, and we'll get right to it. And How Woo and Miao Wang.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Yes.
I can brutalize names. So I try to do my best. It's not where my heart is at. I try to do it right. All right. Here we go. In a 1, 2, 3.